Of all the many creatures introduced to us in Primeval, perhaps the most obscure and mysterious is the future bird. Its fleeting appearance in canon media certainly hasn't helped this. So what exactly is it? To find this out, we must delve into the first of the 4 official novels that were released to tie into the show, Shadow of the Jaguar. Set in between the events of Series 2 Episode 3 and the following novel The Lost Island, and subsequently Series 2 Episode 4, Shadow of the Jaguar focuses on Cutter and the team, including Stephen, Abby, Connor and Jenny, investigating a number of incidents in the Peruvian rainforest. After about 3/4 of the book, where nothing much really happens, in the final few chapters things start to pick up, and ultimately the team discover that the main creatures featured in this story, the Thylaca smilers, are being controlled by pheromones from the future bird. This leads to a quick scuffle inside the Incan temple ruins, after which the bird flees through an anomaly and is never seen again. This creature's first and only appearance in canon only comes to a matter of a few lines throughout the later chapters of the book, and even though it's listed in Cutter's Matrix in Series 3, there's little to go on as to what it looks like, or even how big it is. Some of the words used to describe its appearance are awkward and ungainly, almost like a hybrid of lupine, avian and shadows, which whilst vague, help paint an interesting picture in the mind as to what it looks like. The term hookbeak is also used to describe it, so we can give a reasonable assumption that its beak is raptorial in appearance, like a bird of prey. The other anatomical piece of note worth, of course, is its olaginous proboscis-like tongue, which it uses to quickly dispatch Lucas in a rather gory way. It's described as having millions of tiny teeth on the end of it, similar almost to the future sharks seen in Series 2 Episode 4. The only other way it's described is to resemble the Incan god, now this name I'm going to mispronounce, Pachacamac, the Earthmaker, which makes it potentially responsible for inspiring such a deity. A lot of creatures within Primeval can be attributed to inspiring gods, myths and legends throughout history, such as this, or the Pristachampsus becoming the Egyptian god Ammit, or even the future predator being attributed to the Chupacabra. Aside from this, I'm sure people watching this have made their own view of how the future bird looks in their heads, and I'm aware of some fan art that's been produced, which I'll link below. I've also created my own reconstruction of it, basing it somewhat off a Therizinosaurus in its general body shape, and judging by how easily it can kill a human with its long tongue, I'd estimate that it's at least as tall as a man. Due to the lack of many other details, there's a lot of creative license, but if we're trying to make sense of how this thing came to be, some real-life animals which could have potentially evolved into the future bird might be woodpeckers, as they possess long tongues with barbs which they can use to impale prey with. The idea of using pheromones to control other animals is an interesting one, and although there are little to no examples found of this in birds, a possible explanation to this could almost be, now you have to go with me on this, hyper-evolved cuckoos who can influence other bird species to feed them when they're chicks in other birds' nests. This pheromone adaptation could have evolved from this and expanded into many different forms of life, including species the future bird had never encountered before, like the Thylaca smilers. It may have even influenced its Incan worshippers to treat it as a god. What its ultimate plan was, by having the Thylaca smilers kill the villagers and practically anyone else who entered its territory, we may never know. We don't even know how long it had been living inside the temple before it was disturbed, so there's very little to go on with this one, and I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and come up with some half-decent explanations here. It would have helped if the book was a tiny bit longer, and contained at least a few more sentences describing the bird, but the lack of detail also adds to the overall mystery and makes readers desire more, and it is easily a perfect choice for a creature to incorporate into a fanfic. So I hope this has helped shed a bit of light on this cryptic being from the depths of an otherwise pretty slow yet compelling book. Thanks for listening anyway.